Just realised my light's not on, guys. I'm going to be much brighter in a wee second, but hopefully you can see me fine. Someone said I was like a floating head last time because I'm wearing black and got a black. Maybe the light will make a difference. You're both looking resplendent, guys. Welcome to Tuesday's morning briefing from the Celtic Way. We're building ahead to the big derby on Saturday. A bit of referee news in a wee minute as well. But first of all, I'll ask you both how you're getting on. Kevin, especially you, because we only catch up with you once a week.
Yeah, I was just saying to some friends over the weekend that game against Hearts, that performance against Hearts was probably our best of the domestic season, because I still think that our performances against Atletico Madrid and Lazio at home were good, especially Atletico. And the reason why is because we were at it for the entire 90 minutes, and Hearts were good. You know, you can see how Hearts have improved. They threw everything at us in the first 15 minutes, almost scored. But more or less from first to last, we played really well. A lot of intensity, a lot of skill, a lot of good combinations. And that run, that track back by Callum McGregor, not only to win the ball, but then, you know, to take it away in the second tackle. That was cheered like a goal. And the reason why it wasn't just for an appreciation for a great bit of football, and everyone in the ground knew that was Callum back.
Correct.
You know, he's reached his the top fitness level. It was almost like, you know, when he was running that 50-yard dash that he made, we were all willing him to win it as if it was like a 100-meter sprint, because we all knew, you know, what it meant.
He had one a few minutes later as well. It wasn't quite as noticeable, but I'm sure he had one where he tracked back and won the ball back. So you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, because there's still a huge game to come on Saturday, but it did seem very much like McGregor. And even before that, I tweeted, even in the first half, I thought he was controlling the game like he hadn't in previous weeks. So all positive there. Right, as I say, a bit of ref news. I won't keep you waiting for too much longer. Just first of all, the big thanks to the sponsors, MPH Boilers and Weissman, for sponsoring this video. As you know, MPH are Scotland's own award-winning installation team, and they have teamed up with Weissman, who are a global leader in the boiler industry. When you choose a Weissman boiler installed by MPH right now, you'll get a free internet controller, as well as your first year service free. So check them both out. Links will be in the description, and thanks to them for sponsoring. Tony, we've still got this offer going.
Yep, 6 months of access for £1, and you'll receive that wonderful Kyogo Furuhashi print from renowned football artist made by Frankie. Yep, I think that deal's winding down. It will end soon, so if you want that, all you have to do is log on to the website, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Lots of stuff on the website today, and as if by magic, I'll put that up. Bit of box office Brendan for you. I wrote about it yesterday, his comments and how the other side of the city didn't take them too well, but seems to have been received quite well. So you can have a read at that, guys, if you want to. But yeah, all good. Thank you for subscribing and taking us up on the offer. Been great.
Yes. Right, okay, that referee announcement, as we know by now, Tuesday 10 a.m. is the time for refereeing announcements for the upcoming matches. Celtic versus Rangers this weekend will be refereed by William Collum, a.k.a. Willie Collum. The assistants are David McGeechee and Ross McLeod. Fourth official, Don Robertson. VAR, Stephen McLean. And assistant VAR, Graham Stewart. We also actually have the officials for our following match, which is a few days later in Ayrshire, Rugby Park, away to Kilmarnock. That will be refereed by Don Robertson. So he's kind of always around at the moment. Assistants Graham Stewart and Frank Connor. Fourth official Ewan Anderson. VAR Greg Aitken. Assistant VAR Dougie Potter. So Don Robertson for Killie away as the referee. Willie Collum for this Saturday, and that's going to go down very well, I think, with those across the city. They're not going to have any issue with that at all, are they, guys?
So he hasn't refereed a game featuring Rangers, has he? Since
He did
No, it
the
was
Ayr Cup
fourth
tie.
of-
He refereed the Ayr Cup tie as well.
right. Look, as I was saying earlier, before the show started, there are so many referees that Celtic have trust issues with that it doesn't really doesn't. What's the point in even discussing or looking for the runes? All I'll say is that Column's not the worst.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Really.
And it's the old adage, isn't it? If you're good enough, the referees don't matter. And I think every one of us thinks that this Celtic team is good enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
For this occasion.
Yeah, I think so. There's no point in worrying about the referees, really. And actually, it's not so much been the referees that's been our problem this season and last. It's the eccentric decisions in the VAR room. And how they're applied seemingly in a different manner between us and one or two other clubs.
I think, see, for me this weekend, I don't know if you guys agree, it's not as much about well, it is about the big decisions, I guess, but it's also the really niggly ones that Rangers got away with in the last derby, where our players were getting some real rough treatment. And did they get a booking in the last derby? I think they maybe got one booking. Meanwhile, we had 4 or 5, pretty much straight away in the match. And I think that had a big impact in the game. That's my big worry, official-wise, this weekend, is that, if they're putting challenges in early on, book them. Don't let them away with it, because it really had an impact in the game last time. And I think it was reffed quite strangely at Ibrox, to be honest. But
that's how they can impact and influence it, Hamish. It's those ones where, that Kevin was saying there, kind of the anomaly strike, isn't it? When you look at the yellow card count, Celtic maybe committed like 15 fouls and have 5 or 6 yellow cards. And another team have committed more fouls and they've no yellow cards. This kind of thing, as I've said before, and I'll quite often say, these things are inexplicable, because we watch Celtic every week, and they're not a dirty team per se, are they?
What I've
noticed
for much of this season, and it was exemplified in the game at Ibrox, is that we came out for the second half with 4 of our players in bookings. Rangers had none. And there was some criticism of our performance in the second half, that there was a drop-off after having been so dominant in the first half. But a massive part of that is the fact that we had 4 bookings. We were sitting in 4 bookings.
Yeah.
And also the way that, infringements during the game, I think Celtic had almost double the amount of fouls awarded against them than Rangers had.
Yeah.
So that that informs on-field decisions by players and their attitude. Do I go in for this tackle? Do I not? Is this going to end up in a free kick? How far out is it? Right, I'm 20, 25 yards out. That's a dangerous territory to give a free kick. I'm not even going to try it. So you've got an entire team which is inhibited because of the way the game was refereed in the first half, coming up against a team with, starting afresh with nothing against them, no jeopardy. Celtic have got all the jeopardy, and it's that, and I've seen that happen often this season. So much so that the Celtic players naturally, and at certain stages in certain games, are holding themselves back because they can't trust that the referee will referee in good faith in certain incidents. And that's the kind of, it's not the big calls like the non-existent penalties, the dodgy offsides, the disallowed goals. It's not them, because there's been not too many of them this season. It's this kind of soft jeopardy, you could call it, these kind of soft decisions that in of themselves might not be game changers or pivotal, but they contribute in a kind of insidious way to the pattern of the game.
Yeah, and Craig just brought up a point I was thinking while you were speaking there, Kevin. That I think subconsciously for a ref, say at Ibrox for the last derby, no Celtic fans there, 50,000 of their fans exaggerating every Celtic foul, and kind of minimising every Rangers infringement. That's got to play some sort of impact on a ref, even subconsciously, as I say. And I think that's the role our fans have this week. And I don't think we as a support do it as much as they do. I think they claim for everything. We're kind of not quite to that extreme, I guess, because we've had better players for the past decade.
I claim for
that's
everything.
Fine, Kevin. We need. What I'm saying is, we need 60,000 Kevins at the stadium on Saturday. Claim for everything. Every one of their challenges, make the referee aware, because I think it has an impact.
I was just looking at there, flicked it up, and Kuhn, Alistair Johnston, Matt O'Reilly were booked before half-time at Ibrox. And I specifically remember an incident in the second half where Matt O'Reilly didn't go in for a challenge. That's what brought it back to me. And I thought,
completely nullified Kuhn.
Full-blooded. He's off the park. And then obviously Alistair Johnston was involved in the penalty incident. And there was people saying, why wasn't he sent off? So, and again, he played the ball. And we've had that discussion about why we feel it wasn't a penalty. But, so as you say, it nullified Kuhn. Matt O'Reilly was thinking, because Matt O'Reilly's got those crazy legs cranes I talk about, the big, huge reach with his legs, but he knows if he missed times at once, he's walking, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And you saw the impact he had in that first half, nonchalant penalty as well, all that kind of stuff. So it does make a huge difference, because you are more or less, not saying you're negating these guys, but they are thinking twice about doing what comes naturally to them. So those were three big players for Celtic in that first half at Ibrox in the 3-8 game. Kuhn, O'Reilly and Alistair Johnston. And that's that kind of walking a tightrope. And I've kind of noticed this ever since that Scottish Cup semi-final that Celtic lost. Bobby Thingy's last game, Bobby Madden's last game, yeah?
Yeah.
Where John Lundstrom was allowed to follow with impunity. And that kind of pattern for me has continued in Celtic Rangers games, because I'm watching it a wee bit more closely now, and I just feel that there are certain things that players are let away with that on the other side of the city that I think Celtic players get dug up stringently for, and there's your answer, with things like that. And that's how referees can influence and impact the proceedings. It's those ones. Big decisions are big decisions. You either get them or you don't. I always just say, right, whatever happens in those ones. But it's those marginal ones, the marginal calls, I always say that Celtic fall foul of and don't get their fair share of.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the weekend goes. Just to recap, we have Willie Collum as the referee for the match on Saturday. Fair bit of kind of stuff going on across the city. I don't know if you've been across this, guys. I don't know if either of you check Instagram religiously, but Todd Cantwell has been on there posting some stuff about birds being kept in cages and whatever that alludes to regarding how he feels things are going at the moment. We had Fabio Silva giving it that to his own fans when he scored. Clement seems to be rattled, is fair to say, by what Brendan Rodgers has had to say. Does this have an impact on the game at the weekend, Kevin? Or I mean, I guess it's really important that we stick to what we do best, and assume that Rangers are going to be as good as they can be.
I don't really pay too much attention to what's happening in their team and all the noise off. What I would say is that Felix Clement seems to be channeling his inner Michael Beale. From having started for a few months, because results were good. He seemed quite statesmanlike. I think I've said on here that even when we were a few points ahead of them in the first quarter, after he came in, he was getting a tune out of them. He was improving them. But lately, I've noticed that he's, if you look at the Herald's story count in any given day over the last few weeks, it's comments attributed to him. It's him commenting on everything. And he just seems to be getting more feverish. And you wonder if that then also communicates itself to the players, especially the kind of maybe more excitable players, which, Cantwell and Silva seem to be, they're quite demonstrative. They seem to be quite nervous types of chaps. And you wonder if Clement is feeling the pressure and not dealing with it. We saw the same thing with Beale, and that this begins to communicate itself to the players. And I know that speaking to two Rangers fans in particular that I know very well, they are not happy with Silva and his antics. Yeah. They weren't happy with his antics against Celtic, let alone anybody else. It's that ridiculous fall and dive at Dens Park. Was it Dens Park the other week? Ross County?
Hampden as well.
Yeah, Hampden, that was it. And Cantwell, they just feel as they don't trust him. They just don't think he's their sort of player. And he hasn't done enough, anywhere near enough, to be kind of cavorting about like that on social media. And they would prefer he just did all his talking on the pitch. But I'm not reading too much into it. They're professional footballers. You expect them to give everything in every game, and they shouldn't allow these issues to affect them. So, can Celtic derive an advantage from it? I don't know.
I think there's an element of unravelling of Philippe Clement in the past few weeks, talking about they've gained 4 points more than Celtic since he came in and all that kind of stuff, but they're still 3 points behind them, biting the way he did. I mean, he should have been told that question was coming, or he should know that question was coming and sidestep it. Be wise, keep your counsel, and just keep it all indoors. All the noise about Silva and various players arguing with support, I shut that out, and I'm sure the Celtic manager and the players will be shutting it out. I don't care about the narratives going into this from the other side of the city. Let it be, because like you, I'm expecting the best Rangers team to turn up on Saturday, and that's how you approach this match. Always against your rivals, that you expect the best version of themselves. Because the minute you start to think they're in disarray, it's turmoil, it's this and that, you end up getting a smack in the mush. You turn around and they say, oh, where did that performance come from? It's all back on again. So I just ignore it completely. It's about what Celtic do. I think I was surprised the way Clement reacted to Brendan Rodgers' comments. Big time.
Aye, what did you think?
Because
I'm
honestly,
in two minds over that. That comment of Brendan's. I was coming away from the game and heard that he'd said that. And I have to confess, my immediate instinct was, "Oh, come on, Brendan."
Yeah.
No matter, you don't say we're going to have some fun next week, because if you don't, then it comes back to bite you. But then others were saying he was just being deliberately ironic because he knows it's not going to be fun. He was saying fun with inverted commas and an exclamation mark.
Of course.
Yeah, that's how I read it as well.
And he's been doing it all season. That's the thrust of the piece that I've written. No, see you in May started. He stood in the steps and said, I'll see you in May. For those that doubt me.
He's been doing his whole career.
Correct. Well, yes, he's been doing it his whole career, of course. But it's just people have been more interested because he's up here now and he's the Celtic manager.
Yeah.
Trophy heads on. sat in the Ibrox press room and said, "This is the business end of the season. I think you'll find Celtic comes alive and we'll turn up. We're a better football team than you." Sat there brazenly and said it. They said all these things. So this is nothing new. It's not arrogance. It's a man that's comfortable in his own skin telling you, "I've got this. I've got a good team. I've got a good set of players." And I've been saying it all season. You trust this manager, he will get you over the line because he is, in my opinion, elite level at this kind of stuff. This is what I talk about, elite level. It's not just about results. It's about everything else that comes with it. And that's what he's adept at. And he's the biggest asset that we've had in this title race. Because can you imagine another manager in this? It'd end up a war of words, wouldn't it? There is no war of words here. This is a manager who's just confident in himself and his own ability. It's not arrogance. He's confident in his players, and he said himself in the build-up to the Hearts game, "I take the pressure, I alleviate it from the players. I take it on my shoulders because I'm confident in my own skin, and I can do that. And I feel I've been around a bit to know what's what." And as he famously said, he knows the city, he knows how it works. So like you guys, I didn't see any kind of offence or disrespect that could be taken in those comments. But again, I don't support the team on the other side of the city, but I knew exactly what he was talking about.
But even after the last derby at Celtic Park, remember Clement had a bit of a meltdown after that one as well. Yeah. I think it was one of the questions from the BBC, and he really took issue with it. And it was strange because we'd heard up to that point that he was going to be calm. He wasn't going to be Michael Beale. He wasn't going to get dragged into these things. And whoever said it earlier, it seems like he's unravelling a bit. And if we come out on top on Saturday, I'd fear for him a little bit, because I don't know what he's going to say after the game if they don't get the positive result that they need on Saturday. It's last chance saloon for them on Saturday, which, to be honest, makes them dangerous. That's my only worry, really, for Saturday. My main worry is how we play, because as I said yesterday, I think if we turn up and play our game, I think we could see another comfortable Celtic win. I don't think they'll be able to deal with the atmosphere. But my two worries would be if we don't play that top level, if we're slack and give them a chance in the game, but also just the fact that they've really got not a great deal to lose at this stage in the title race. That this is their last shot at it. And I always think, like, we were kind of written off for the last derby, weren't we? Yep. Maybe not by our own support, but certainly the first one of the season. Many Celtic fans are writing us off. We won that game. I know we're better than them. We have better players, etc. But it just shows that sometimes the underdogs in these games, if the favourites don't do things properly, can come back to bite you on the backside. We've got to be wary of that.
Boxing analogy: they've got a puncher's chance, right?
Yeah,
and they can land a haymaker.
Yeah.
So you got to guard yourself against that at all costs.
No, I'm not
That's
taking anything. Not taking anything for granted. We simply haven't been we haven't been good enough for long enough to guarantee anything.
Yeah.
We do have the better players, but for most of this season we've been inconsistent. And so we can't really afford any complacency. And I would say that we're slight favourites simply because we just haven't been at it all that often for very long. And that's what Clement will be telling the Rangers players. You're not up against a team that is sweeping everything before it. We everyone knows what our vulnerabilities are. But that said, over the last few weeks, we're coming back to our best, and it coincides with us having more or less a full team to choose from, probably for the very first time this season. We kind of know what the team will be. There's probably only one decision to make, which is whether Maeda starts or not.
He starts.
I think he will. We will. I think he'll start. Yeah.
Yeah.
He looked good on Saturday. He looked ready.
I saw a thread of posts on our Rangers website questioning if there was a
yes.
drug testing, there was a
I
drug
heard
testing
about that.
regime at Parkhead because of how quickly the wee man had recovered.
the bionic man, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, for those who are
He starts,
familiar
doesn't
with it.
he? He starts
Yeah,
on Saturday.
to be
Of course
honest,
he
he does
starts.
start. He does.
Because he's given a mission every time he takes to the field against Rangers, and we all know what that mission is.
Yep.
And the man who he's up against in that mission finds it difficult to function.
Yep.
And and that's the beauty of Dyson Maida, the mixed bag Maida, as I call him. He's a selfless team player, and he knows getting himself ready because he wanted to play his part in that. I think he put out Instagram and tweets saying he was pretty devastated that he might miss the season, but no, don't rule it out. He's clearly been primed. Come back for that because you've got a job, one more job to do. And miraculous, call it what you like, and he just knows and that's what we love. And I think Ryan said it yesterday, didn't he? That the biggest cheer was there for Saturday was when Maida came on, and he made an instant impact. Right, he made an instant impact, and you just thought, brilliant. You just looking at him thinking, you can defy medical science all you want, magic. It's great for the team, and I think he's just one of these footballers at Celtic that he really is a cult icon, isn't he?
Oh,
I think
completely.
he's loved by the fans and loved by his teammates. But
he's the only he's the only player in recent history where the fans know what his faults are. He does a long busting 70-yard dash down the left, waltzes past 3 opponents, and then sticks the ball into the jungle or where the jungle used to be. And rather than people raging and clenched fists, it's like they just sort of put their head in their hands a wee bit, and it's Dyson, there he goes. But he got them to the edge of their seats. He's the only player whose faults are overlooked when they happen because the support appreciate what he does. The rest of the time, his fitness, his commitment. He's come up with some big goals for us, some important goals, and he absolutely worries. I mean, he worries the hell out of opponents just by his presence. One in particular. Yeah. He's like an old sheepdog with, just worrying. He's just there. If I was playing against him, you're like, God, I can't relax. Where is he? And then, you've got Kyogo kind of doing the same thing. He was back to his best. There was actually this amazing, almost 360-degree turn that brought out an amazing save from Hearts that I thought was the most impressive thing beyond his 2 goals. He's facing, he's back to the goal, and within a nanosecond, he swiveled and got the shot on target. Was just incredible.
It actually reminded me of one of his goals against Rangers. I think it was in the 3-2 game.
That's right.
When he swiveled, it was a similar type goal, So, I mean, there's so much to enjoy and like about Celtic, which is why you clearly say that Celtic are the slight favourites. But I just don't buy any narratives. You just know that there's a laser focus with Celtic and just, control everything. You look around and there was certain negativity about Celtic yesterday, wasn't there? There was a Georges Giakoumakis story. There was even 2 referees in a podcast saying Callum McGregor should have been sent off or something should have been looked at. And then there was the Daniel Kelly story saying he's knocked back the contract. And it made me laugh because, I just went, it's Glasgow Derby week, isn't it? You just shrug your shoulders. And I say, the rest's just noise. It's noise. You just focus and the manager will be drilling that into the players. And I'm glad about that. And I just think that's what will help us get over the line on Saturday. Well, certainly take a significant step closer to getting over the line on Saturday. That's what you hope, But again, you just can't rule Rangers out at all.
No,
it'd be churlish and stupid to do so.
We win that game, the league's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And I think that's
players will know that. Players will know.
I think that's a big enough driver, isn't it? Along with 60,000 fans. And again, I go back to it, and I said it before the Hearts game. There might be moments of adversity. You might go a goal down, you might go a man down, but do you know what? You're not out of it. You're not. I mean, you've watched incredible Celtic teams come, from behind and win with 10 men. Kevin will tell you about 1979 and all that. So
yeah,
I was there.
I was there.
So
first ever Celtic Rangers game.
So you cannot underestimate home advantage in this one. It's a huge thing for Celtic on Saturday.
Especially, this is going to be the last derby with no away fans, isn't it? And going into the last one, I think we were all quite nervous ahead of that one. Remember the one at Ibrox, and it was about not losing that day, going into that environment with all of their fans, and we always knew if we could come away with a positive result, which we did, they would have to come back to our place. The kind of feeling was at that stage that it would be a must-win for us in terms of having to beat them to go top of the table. We've somehow managed to get ourselves into a position where we're 3 points clear and have them come in and have a chance, as Kevin says, to basically kill Rangers off this weekend. I personally think it's a chance that the team will take. But as you say, guys, you never know. These matches, we've got evidence this season of the favourites kind of being undone. I just think the big difference now, for the first time, I think, in a derby this season, we have everyone fit, available, and firing. You look at the weekend, like the positives against Hearts were just everywhere on that pitch. James Forrest was fabulous. Kyogo was as good a game as I've seen Kyogo play all season. Maida came back and looked good. McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly were all really good, I thought. Alistair Johnson, the back four in general, kept a clean sheet. Joe Hart was making saves. That would be my team with Maida in for Kuhn, and you just send them out and you just say, guys, pick up from where you left off last week, and if you win, the league is pretty much done. I mean, it's a huge carrot, Kevin. It's massive.
Yeah. Been there a few times. Been in a few pivotal games, both at Celtic Park and Ibrox at this stage of the season, and we tend to win them when they're close. I discount Rangers' kind of period of dominance because we were so far off it that the titles had been decided before the last game. I think there was only 1 year when it wasn't. I can remember Ibrox 1981, Charlie Nicholas, the 79 game, of course, where Johnny Doyle was sent off. The two games back to back at Parkhead in 2006, 2-1 and 3-2, when we were miles out the picture and put together that run. And also, I was chatting about this with my two Rangers pals, and they were pulling their hair out because of Rangers' obstinacy over the ticket situation, the away ticket situation. And one of them said, could they not have seen the way the fixtures were playing out, that the last fixture, which is also usually the most crucial, the last of the four Celtic Rangers fixtures, is being played at Parkhead, and that it would be in Rangers' best interests to at least have some of their fans in there, because that is the most crucial of the four. And we knew it was going to be like that before the end of the season, and they know then potentially they're going into that game, the most crucial of the four, with not a single fan. If that had been Celtic, the foot had been on the other foot, and it was us who were being obstinate, and I'm looking at those fixtures from a Celtic perspective in reverse, I'd be like, get that sorted. I do not want to be going to Ibrox in the last Celtic Rangers game of the season with no fans. But there it is.
Huge
we
part of the
coped,
game as well. Like put
and
the pressure on them.
And we've coped far better in those situations than they have.
So far,
I think I think you made a great point there at the start, Kevin. The close games recently, there's been a lot of really close games, not a lot in them, especially last season, the cup final, we were the better team, but, it was 2-1, pretty close. The cup semi-final was a tight game. They had their chances. Even the game at Celtic Park in December, the 3-2 game last season at Celtic Park, the 1-0 game at Ibrox earlier this season, all really close games that some of them could have gone either way. But we have found a way to win those matches, and they've only managed to win one of the last 10, I think, and it was a dead rubber at the end of last season. I think that's huge. We've got something over them at the moment, and I think that's a factor as well. Tony, your final point ahead of Saturday.
I think just Celtic continue to block out the noise and any narrative from both sides. Just focus on the job at hand, and again, I get back to it. I trust this manager. I trust the players to carry it out. It's going to be a long few days, isn't it? You just want Saturday to come. I think my dogs want Saturday to come as well. So there you go. So I'll end it there and mute myself.
That's fine. Cut short again, but that's a shame. Just quickly, I'll go through some comments. Smell the Glove saying, is that Balogun injured for them? Davies and Suter would be a delight for Kyogo. I believe Balogun came off at half time. Precaution injury, I think they said on Sky at that stage. Talking about Balogun as being a big player for them, he got sent off last time at Celtic Park. So, defensively they're struggling. Hazel saying we need a strong, consistent ref on Saturday. I fear it will be a chaotic game if the ref doesn't get a grip from the start. Maestro saying, who's stopping Maida, Kyogo and Speed? Who's stopping our strength in midfield? If we play our A game, let's play our football. Hazel saying, would you start with Maida and Forrest? I think we would. Colin's talking about moral victory being disrespectful. And finally, Monty saying, morning men, good to hear everyone has feet on the ground and keeping calm and focused. Celtic players keep their cool on Saturday and we win. We will win this game. We will push our team on to the flag. Oh, it's getting good, guys. We're just 4 days away, so we've really not got that long. It's going to drag in probably, but we're already at Tuesday and we only need to wait until Saturday lunchtime. Thanks for your time once again, guys. Appreciate it. I'll give one final shout out for this 6 months of access for the Celtic Way for £1 plus a free Kyogo Furuhashi print from a renowned football artist made by Frankie. Thanks to everyone who has signed up so far. Right, catch you tomorrow, everyone.